I gave her the nudge under the table, like, let's go, dude.
I watched a TikTok where they were talking about how millennials do a pause because they're waiting for the recording to start because that's our generation. And it's like something that we all do. And I didn't realize I did it until I saw this TikTok, and I'm like, I do that. I wait like a beat or two and then I start talking. I've always done it and I still do. So it's accurate. All right. Well, welcome everybody to this week's Hobby Night School. We are blessed with the presence of John, the basketball card guy. He is an icon in the hobby. If you are not following him and you're following us for some reason, go follow him. I'm going to let him sort of talk about what he does within this space and what he's been doing because it's incredible. Welcome, John. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
I see that in the background. First off, that Shaq jersey makes everything around it pop. And after talking with you several times, I can tell you're very strategic in the placement. I know you've got the new digs. Congratulations on the move. Let's talk about the new spot that you're in.
Yeah. So it's been 15 years in my old house, and found a house that, the family fell in love with, and we kind of quickly scrambled, put our house on the market, sold it. We're able to buy the house, sell the house, and buy the house the same day. So it was a lot of coordination, a lot of craziness, 15 years worth of stuff in the old house that had to get handled and staged appropriately when you're going and selling a house, Yes. But ironically, the Shaq shoe, that's back here, was one of the selling points of the house. Like, it didn't come with it, but practically everybody that walked through the house saw it and knew it was Shaq's. It doesn't say Shaq on it, but we all recognize the Reebok pump from back in the day. And when it's a size 22, it kind of stands out a little bit. It's very large. So I paired it with a jersey now here. Actually, every jersey that's on the wall. So Iverson, Curry, Durant, Barrett, they all have autographed shoes underneath them. So I've been trying to pair that out. So I've got an autographed shoe and the jersey to kind of match, to go along with like the generation of whatever it was, So been trying to just kind of take the opportunity in the new space to create something similar to the old decor. I brought over my cabinets that I had custom made last year with all the cards on the front and everything. Brought over the huge shoe collection, but haven't put them all out yet. There's still a lot more that's not out. Going with less is more on this current display. But I want to put up more jerseys on the wall. I got more space here in general. I got my logo on the wall, which is actually a big plastic sign that I had for shows. And so it's actually made, it's not a sticker. It's like a huge piece of plastic. So that's up on the wall.
Things.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Crazy, and it is huge. Like, the room is big. Like, it goes back quite a bit here. And I have a table and all that stuff here. And then I have a whole other end of the room that's being constructed now with all of the memorabilia. It's going to be more of like a museum, could be a conference room, like if I have business clients over. But I think it's going to be a space for me, like a little video studio for me to do stuff in the future, have people over, interview, talk about collecting, and just kind of go through all of that and have a really awesome environment to do it in.
So when you're talking about Dream House, when we were looking at our house, there were certain things that we have to have this for the kids. We have to have a yard for this. We have to have space for a pool. There was all wants and desires. For your family, is it, hey, we've got to have space for dad's jersey and dad's cards and his little business that might help pay the bills?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how much it helps pay the bills. It's more of a hobby really than anything. Create some bills, I guess. Yeah. No, but it was important to have a space that, I wanted to have something at least as nice as what I had in the old house. Like that was obviously important. But I did have a lot more priorities when it came to the house for the family. Not to be completely selfless, but it really was like, when we saw the house, I was like, wow, there's an actual master suite, something my wife and I never had, and there's an actual backyard that's flat and has grass, and we have a full acre. Like, that's a nice thing that we had a hill before, so there were a lot of things that I felt, and the school system was better and all sorts of things like that would just like, this is going to be a better place for my kids to grow up. And that was number one. That was the big decision maker on all of that. this space, originally I was going to split it with my wife. My wife was going to do like a craft room in the second spot and stuff like that. But then once I got all the stuff up here, I'm like, there is no way
Sorry,
we can
honey.
fit more. Like I already don't know how I'm going to fit all this stuff in here. It just like expands.
You're
So
like,
we've kind of created a guest room space. We're using the guest room as a craft room as well. So she's got a separate space for that. But yeah, a lot of thought went into, and look, I mean, I can't stress enough, we had no plans to move. Like, we literally went out, we looked at 4 houses on a Sunday and an open house day. We drove around to 4 different towns. This is the 4th house we saw. We instantly fell in love with it. And we're like, is this like, could we put our house on the market and sell it quick enough to buy this? Like, would that actually even work? And it did. I don't know how it all happened, but like, it was a ton of work. So
Congratulations
That's
to
awesome.
you and your
thank
family.
you.
You
Thank
love
you
when
so
that
much.
happens. When we moved into this house, it was the same thing. The moment we walked through it, we knew we had to have it. And
We know it's right.
the space that we're in was originally designed for the kids. So we moved in ping pong tables, arcades, TVs, video games. And as we got more and more into cards, it was like, hey, you can go put some of these things in your room. We'll put some of this stuff out in the garage. You can put some of this in the downstairs. And now it's
Shifts around
in here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. And you know, I remember when I saw that you were moving, you were talking about it. I was like, oh, the shelves, because I like they're so beautiful. When you got on here, I was like so glad to see that you were able to bring that with you, because sometimes when you have stuff custom made, especially for a specific space in your
yeah.
home, it's hard to like make that happen in a new space. So I'm really like happy for you. And also,
Thank you.
I remember the first time I saw a Shaq shoe, and I was blown away because I felt like it was as big as me. I'm like, nobody's foot is this. This is not real.
Yeah.
It looked like, I thought it was like a toy or
I'm
like
gonna bring it over because
you
people need
have
to see it.
you have to show, because it's so I was like, oh, I was a kid and I was at a show or like a sports convention, something like that. And there was a shoe sitting there and I was like, oh, this is a display.
Nope, you're gonna have to back it up.
It doesn't fit. It's as big. It was as big as it's so big.
I mean, I can hide behind it.
It doesn't
Where
look
John
like
Totally hide behind it. I mean, like,
I've never seen Shaq in person, but I just feel like he must be so gigantic. It's just
I know,
like,
totally. Yeah, and it's just such a special piece,
it's so cool.
and it just looks cool. It came with this cool mirror case too, so it like really looks nice. It looks like it's almost floating in there.
I feel like I just want one.
Yeah.
That like
It's so like when I think of all the sneakers I have, like this is the most iconic, just because
right.
it's you remember the pump when it came out, and then it's Shaquille O'Neal, and then to get a shoe in a size 22 of anything, I mean, it's the size of a clown shoe. I mean, like you can't like it's so big, and it's just amazing. It just adds something to it. I remember seeing these shoes. They might have only had a 20 or a 21. I don't think it was a 22 at the time, but they had samples of these shoes in the shoe store back when they first came out. And then was like it drew a lot of attention to it.
I was shopping at Payless, so I never saw them. I didn't get to like really have a pump shoe when I was a kid.
I did.
Yours wasn't.
I got the Spalding pumps and I got like beat up on the bus.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
I'll tell you something though. When Courtney mentioned the shelves, that was a day that I truly felt old, because I feel pretty immature for my age. I feel like I'm still pretty ridiculous. But I remember the day when I'm like, oh my God, Court, look at this. You have to see shelves. And then like I paused.
And you're excited about it.
And I'm like, what the hell just came out of my mouth? Like this is something that I would have ever appreciated. I'm like, man, these shelves are freaking cool. So to Courtney's point, I'm glad the shelves survived, man. Those are...
They were a staple. And I had to put signs on them when we were doing the walkthroughs, like with the real estate folks. I'm like, these do not come with a house, because they look very built in, but I'm like, they do not come with a house,
These are not staying.
So let me ask you this. When we moved, I hate moving. It is.
Oh yeah, me too. I don't think I'll ever do it again.
I am a person that would throw everything away, and I live with a group of people that need to save stuff, need to save everything, which is a crazy thing. I couldn't even imagine for somebody who's collected as long as you did. How many cards did you have? You weren't prepared to move. What was that process like?
I was fortunate because I had an office in the next town over from where I lived, which was like a 3-mile drive. So my office is relative. Most of the folks in my office work remote. So I had a really large conference room, a couple of empty offices that weren't currently being occupied because the people were remote. So all in all, there was about 2,000 square feet where I was able to bring in carloads of cards and
Like,
literally just store them there in the in between. Because one of those things too, it's like I was trying to explain this to the real estate agent. I'm like, when you do an open house, you don't have anyone watching people as they're walking through. And as much as people are worried about like their jewelry and stuff being stolen, totally get that. You walk into a candy store like this, where I wouldn't even know if something was missing for weeks or months. Like it would take me a long time to even know that something was stolen because there's just too much stuff.
right.
And so I just got as much of it as I could out of the house. I left stuff in the cases and locked the cases locked. And locked the cases. And I had cameras in the room. And that's how I knew about people's reactions to the Shack shoe. But, um, but it was a lot of moving, and it was a lot of cards. I mean, I have no idea the exact number, but it's over $250,000. So it's at least 250,000 at this point. That's a lot of cards. And as many of them as I can, I have organized by player. And that's like my main organization. If there's a player that I recognize the name of and I remember playing, I usually have a slot for that person in a drawer. And then all of the cards get collected there up to a certain dollar amount, usually about $50 is like the line that I have for those drawers. Anything beyond that then either gets stored off site or in a safe. Like I just have stuff all stored that's more valuable than that separately. But it's organizing that and getting to that point where you can kind of filter down. I think of it like kind of like, I don't know if you remember those like plastic coin sorters where you put
Yes.
in a coin and like you put in a quarter and it would go over the penny slot, the dime slot and all that, and then it would end up in the quarter. That's like what I feel like my job is sometimes with this, is just that the behavior is like, okay, does it fit here? Does it fit here? Does it fit here? No, it's got to go in here. So I do have separate boxes for players I don't recognize as much. Stuff I got in a trade deal, it was a throw in, or someone's like, oh, I know you love autographs. Here, have some of these. And so I have entire boxes that are just labeled autographed cards. And then they're just random players that I don't have spots for otherwise. Same with jerseys. I have boxes and boxes of game worn jersey cards that are all, lesser name players.
Somebody that like blew up or could blow up, and you have no idea that he's even in your box.
Yes. I think for the most part that doesn't happen too much, because if I don't feel like the person's kind of good enough to have a name tag slot in one of the drawers, they generally aren't even playing. Like they were in the NBA for 5 minutes and their cards are just chilling out. So it doesn't happen too often on those, but it does happen on the ones inside the drawers. Like there are plenty of times where, I mean, like Giannis was one of those where it was just like I had a whole stack of his stuff, and it was like, when he blew up, it was like, oh yeah, I got a lot of those rookie cards, like they're just sitting there, because he was good, but he wasn't great, up until later, and then the obsession that followed. So yeah, I mean, crazy.
250,000 cards. What's like the game plan? Do you just want to have as many as possible that one day somebody has to go, damn, John, we have to go through all this stuff? Or, I mean, is there ever, we hear like consolidation, or it's like
kind of there now. Yeah. No, it's a great question. I've thought about it a lot. Like, I don't buy or trade for anything that I don't like. Like that's been my rule for a long time. Again, sometimes I get freebies mixed in. I have friends that were in a lot of breaks and they're like, here, just have my base. I don't want any of them. And I'm like, one of my close friends was actually, I caught him dumping them into his recycling bin. I'm like, what are you doing? First of all, you can't recycle them. But secondly, like it's just like plastic, like a lot of these cards. He's like dumping Prism into a recycling. I'm like, dude, you don't know, like there's a bunch of rookies in there. He's like, well, just take them. Like, here, have the rest, And so some folks like that, like, will just toss me cards because they know, as long as it's basketball, they know that I'd take it if it's something like that. But yeah, like I've become more and more focused, as we all should, on the things that you're looking to collect. I do have like a lot of side themed cards. Like I collect a lot of shoe cards to go along with the autograph shoes. So that's been something I've been doing for years. I love autographed cards ever since the first autographic set, from 1996. I built that set over 15 years. It took me. I actually have it here. It's funny
Oh, I'm
because
excited.
someone was asking me about it today because they were looking for cards out of it. But like this is literally the whole set of the very first, 1996. Just awesome. Like Clyde Drexler's in here, Grant Hill, Kevin Garnett. There's Garnett right there, and right, is that him? Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
It's hard because it's reversed on the screen. But Steve Nash, rookie, Ray Allen, rookie. But it was the first set that they ever put an NBA licensed, like a full NBA licensed pack pulled autograph set. There were ones before, like there was a Jerry West card back in the 90s, and like there was a card here or there that was autographed, but never like a full set. So 95 cards, 15 years to make. That really launched me into thinking about on-card autographs. Now, there are way more of those today than there were back in the 90s. Like they were rare back then. But I still like them a lot. I feel like, look, if it feels like you have a piece of the player, like the player took the time to, sign the card. And so 2 seconds of their life was dedicated to this thing that you now have.
And they
It's kind
held
of
it.
cool. Yeah.
That's what I like about the on card is they held it like
Yeah, they saw it. They could
with
appreciate it.
with them. It wasn't just like a pack of stickers that they touched it. It was part of that was part of the process. I feel like I miss that kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather the
sticker
autograph
stuff.
be more sparse than all of these sticker autographs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the sticker stuff came about, from my knowledge, it came about because people were complaining about the conditions of the cards out of the packs. A lot of these players, they sign the cards, throw them on a coffee table, they get dinged up, nicked up. And when you pull them out of the pack, if you go to grade it right away, you get a 7 or an 8 on it. And you go, what the heck? I just pulled this out of a pack. Why can't you guys do quality control? You get all that sort of complaint. Sticker is a good answer to that because it preserves the quality of the card and it puts the autograph on separately. But exactly to your point about the player holding it, I mean, I would, if I was signing an autograph, you look at what you're signing. Like, is it a photograph? Is it what's the item that you're signing? What's the significance? Someone to go and sign an NBA logo, man, that's a one of one that looks beautiful visually, even if you don't collect cards, you understand it looks great. I think you take a little bit more time and effort to sign that card because you see what it is, versus if everything's a sticker, then it just, someone slapped the one autograph that you went way off the side of the sticker and it looked really, I mean, who knows, right? Like it's just so.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of, to me, I would rather have a card that's maybe not in the, if you have if they're not signing as much, what does the condition at the end of the day, what does the condition matter if it's more rare? Like I get it. Sometimes I think grading sort of ruins things like on card autographs.
I agree. No, I agree. I think a lot of that it brought in. I mean, look, it's really a society of collectors, and more so the investor collectors than just collectors, that it's like this constant competition. It's what card can I pull out of the pack? Can I pull a better card than you? Then once I pull that card, which parallel is it? What is it numbered to? They all look almost identical, but mine's numbered to 10, yours is numbered to 15. Then having a card numbered to 10 is not good enough for me. I want to have the highest graded one numbered to 10. Like it's just like artificial limitation after artificial limitation after artificial limitation. If the player signed 200 cards for Panini, in this set, why is it that one is now deemed better than all of the rest? Like, why can't we treat all 200 equally and just say they signed 200 cards? If you're one of the lucky people that has it, great. Like, so, and I think that culture just continues to move with that. Part of it is a sales tactic too. If you own a card, you want your card to be worth more. So if you feel like, if I send it off and I get it graded and it comes back high, now it's more valuable, So I get the mentality. It's just, I do agree from a card purist standpoint, it sucks.
I never
It's
considered myself a purist, but maybe I am.
It's the dangling of the carrot. It keeps you excited. It keeps you chasing something.
Yeah.
But to your point, our Patrick Williams logo man, the one of one that we won through Premier Auction, it's PSA 7. And I would take that card a million times over the gold, the Prism Gold PSA 10 with the sticker photo.
Yeah. Well,
100%.
we have the optic.
Cooler card.
Gold. We have the optic and the gold. They're both out of 10. I think they're both like 9s or whatever. And I like the optic better because it's on card. I just like that Patrick Williams held that card. He signed it. We have his, this is all his.
Yeah.
And I like it. To me, it's more meaningful as like, if it's something that I'm buying to sell to support, like furthering our personal collection, I'll take a sticker out if it's more valuable than I don't care about that.
Sure.
My own collection.
It's a financial transaction. Yeah.
I like the mid 2000s like Upper Deck cards where where they did a really good job with the sticker where you don't even know it's a sticker.
Yes.
It's almost like they designed the card where the sticker goes on that you're like, is this
Topps was pretty good at that too.
They
had a good kind of realm where that I can think a few of their cards look really good. Like a Tim Duncan champagne toast I saw that looked pretty neat the way they integrated the sticker. Yeah, I agree. Like if you know you're going to do that, I think Leaf does a really good job of that actually, in their the metal century, pop century stuff. They've done a great job just designing where that'll be, and then it looks like a refractor and you don't look at the sticker as much.
I agree. If you're going to use the stickers, the design, it shouldn't just look like you slapped a sticker on it. And here's another thing. If you're going to sell a one of one, it should never be a sticker ever.
Yeah. It's kind of a sad state when it gets there, but there's so many one of ones now.
Agreed.
So many sets that it doesn't,
if there's like 20 of them.
It's just ridiculous in one set. I mean, like I remember back to when the late 90s Flair came out with masterpieces and they were like purple writing. They had the legacy cards that were like number 200 or 150 depending on what year it was. But then they had the masterpieces and they literally wrote masterpiece, the only one of one, and that really stressed the point of like, we made one of these guys. Like that's it, now it doesn't feel like that because you see one the like case hits in some cases.
I know.
Like,
They said Mac Jones had like 37.
No, it was like 100 and something.
Was it even higher?
Yeah.
Like the last time. It's like, are they really one of ones if there's that many of them? It's not. So
if there's other parallels where the card picture is exactly the same and it's just the foil color is different. Like that's the thing to me. Like I felt like I've always felt this way. Probably like I would say the last 10 years of it, really felt like the one of ones should have a unique design. It shouldn't be a parallel. Come up with a completely different picture, and then one person in the world gets to own that. Like how cool is that? Like no one else has a parallel. No one else has a representation of it other than this one person. And so everyone's just looking around waiting to see what's the photo that they used. Yeah. Like you just want to get a glimpse of it because it really is the only one now, as opposed to, let me see the one that's got the slightly different foil on it. It's a rainbow instead of a gold.
It's got disco on it, and it's It's the only black disco, but
58 parallels. Yeah,
the black prism, and here's the black disco, and here's the black, and they're all one of ones because they're all black. They're all the same. They're all
right.
It is frustrating. I think that's what I think with like Topps. And their like project cards are cool because you can do the sketches that the artist did, and that is the one of one. And that to me is it's so cool.
I also think when you're buying stuff that you like and that you truly love, for us sometimes that's better because let somebody go fight and spend a bunch of money on a card that I don't think is aesthetically pleasing, and I'll go get the numbered out of 13 or 75 or whatever the case may be, depending on what brand it is.
Yeah. I agree fully. We have some interesting cards that aren't probably worth anything, but I like how they look and I think they're cool. So, and that's part of it too, So I'm sorry, we got totally off of topic, but I wanted to talk more about when you were moving into it. Are all the cards in your display case the same, or did you take?
No, I switched most of them out actually, and I do it every so often too. Like I'd say once a month, once every 2 months. I'll put 1 or 2 cards in and swap things out all the time, but then I just go, you know what? I don't need a full case of Thomas Bryant anymore. Like I've had a full case of him for like 3 months. I'm gonna do half a case now. So like, and so I did that, with the move. Like I put in some new ones I didn't have before, removed half of them, and then trickled in some Michael Jordan instead. He's almost as good as Thomas Bryant.
Almost.
Yeah,
This
almost.
one right here, this never changes. This one stays.
Yes, never. Well,
and then
eventually,
this one rotates all the
Yeah.
time, constantly taking things out and putting them in, and I feel guilty. I don't know like what my problem is, but I feel like when I take a card out, I'm like, sorry.
Well, that's fine to feel that way, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't still do it. I mean, like, it's
I feel like I just need more
good to have
cases
the rotation.
so I can put them all out all the time.
It's like I have one full case. The case on the far end here is all celebrity autographs, so that's just a celebrity autograph case. This one's the half Thomas Bryant, half Jordan. This one is a lot of in-person autographs I got. Actually, I put into this one now. I found that I started getting a lot of autographs in white paint pen on Prism cards that looked cool. So like this case started to go in that direction, or on Court Kings cards too that look nice.
I love Court Kings.
Oh, so nice. And then this one is all Jordan memorabilia. So every card in here, there's one row of inserts I did in the top, and then it's all patches, jerseys, bats, and just stuff within there. So
that's your favorite one of your cases.
It's hard. Like maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know if I pick one too easily. Like they all have different meanings, like the autographs I got in person, I value those a lot too, because I have memories with each of those. The Jordan cases are the more distant memories from when I was a kid, really chasing a lot of the cards. Some of them I have from my childhood. Some of them are, more recent pickups. And then I've got a whole Jordan kind of shrine I'm building on the other side of the room that I'll be able to share hopefully in a couple of weeks. But like a lot of autographed memorabilia and stuff there. That's just, like I put out some of it before, but I didn't put out all of it. So now I'm trying to do like the whole thing. And I think it'd be a kind of a neat space just to hang out in. But yeah, I think it's good to rotate it. I always, I always said, like, if it's just sitting in the box, you're not enjoying it as much. You have it, like it's a possession kind of thing. And you could always go and look at it whenever you want, but it's not the same as being able to like see it and enjoy it. My biggest challenge actually with this right now is the fact that my desk is faced away from it. And in my old house, my desk was kind of 90 degrees, perpendicular. So I used to like work this way and I could at any time just be looking over. Now it's like more like I'm here at my computer and I've got to like look over to see them. So
hey guys. Love you.
So you're a creative guy. What's more fun now, getting the card or figuring out an awesome way to display it?
I was still getting the card. I mean, the chase is still is the most like exhilarating. It's if it's something you're buying online or trading for online, it's the day before it arrives is the most exhilarating because you're still like, oh, it's gonna come. Like you're so excited, you secured it, you're gonna get it. I love going to shows still. I mean, I pick up stuff all the time. And what was that?
How many shows do you think you're going to a year right now?
Oh, a lot. I mean, so I go to probably about 3 shows a month because we have a lot of shows within Connecticut and in the surrounding states. So I go into Massachusetts, into New York, into New Jersey. And so there's plenty of there's multiple shows every weekend. So I'd say 3 shows a month I'm usually hitting. Then I have a great local card shop that, actually didn't sell singles for the longest time. I mean, like, the owner was a collector himself, and that's why he opened the store. But he was cracking wax like crazy and never wanted to sell the singles. And after the market kind of went whoop whoop, he realized now he doesn't need to hold on to all of them. So we've had kind of heart to heart discussions on like what's best to do there. Like, believe me, I know how you feel, but you don't need all of these things that you opened out of packs, right? So he's keeping like 20% and selling 80% at this point is kind of where he's landed. So it's nice. So like I literally like picked up this box. This was this week's, from the LCS, stuff that I'm in process of going through and organizing now, and just
Will you pick stuff up,
getting it in.
selling it too, or you just keep everything?
My initial intent is to keep everything. And then as I start to review, it's kind of that look back that you were talking about earlier, as I start to really think about it, if I go, oh wow, this is the, 15th Shaquille O'Neal auto that I have. Maybe I don't need 15 Shaq autos. Maybe I can consolidate to 10.
Like pick like
Like
right?
and then so then I would trade away or sell the 5, and then put that money, if it's a sale, back into other cards that I don't have as many of. Um, my thing, I might have mentioned it when we've chatted in the past, but about 2.5, 3 years ago, I decided I'm not going to spend any money on cards anymore that I don't pull out of cards in the first place. So I forced myself to be basically, and sometimes it's the Venmo or PayPal budget, but like whatever's in that account is what I can spend. So the more I sell stuff, it just goes into that account. I'm not going to really see that money. It's just going to go in other cards, So it's like it's just keeping that. It's not investing more in it. It's just changing what you have your money invested in, so
Like
to speak.
you're like cultivating and curating new cards to replace
Yeah, and that's the
it,
fun
like
part.
over with. Here's a question: when
Yeah,
you have an insanely impressive collection, right? We're not going to argue that. When you
thank you.
go to sell, where are you selling your cards typically? Do you sell them at shows? Do you sell them
I
to
sell
your
it mostly on my website. So basketballcardguy.com is the main space that I sell them. I haven't set up at shows in the last 2 years. Like since COVID started, I haven't really set up. I do mostly trades at the shows, like I'll walk around. But I used to set up at all the shows, probably from 2016 or 17 on. Like I've set up regularly. That's how I got my name, Basketball Card Guy, because people walking around remarked in a not nice way that, like, look at that idiot, he only has basketball cards, like he doesn't have any other sport. What a moron. Look at that basketball card guy. So I just took it on and was like, well, that's my name then. And Yeah, and so I'd say mainly off of my website. And then the website is a mixture too, so like because a lot of folks requested to see some of the stuff in my personal collection, I started posting some of it. So like if you see stuff on my website and there's no price on it, it means it's just not for sale. It's just in the PC section. So you could search by a player like Jordan and see some of my higher end Jordans that I'm not selling. But then you might find like there's a $50 Jordan that I have 3 of that I'm willing to sell one of them, so that's why it's up on the website.
That makes sense. So, okay, you talk about trading in and out of cards, and some of it's meant to like turn around and sell. Do you strictly trade in basketball cards? If someone's like, "Hey, I have this card, and, it's worth this much. Are you willing to trade like for baseball?" Or nope, strictly basketball. Okay,
Because again, I don't trade thinking I can sell the card that I'm getting
right.
ever. Like unless it's for someone specific that I know they're looking for the card. And in
Mhm.
most cases, I will text them while I'm there and go, "Hey, found it. Do you want it?" Before I do it, because I just don't need to go down that path of collecting things that are worth money that I don't like, or know anything about. Um, it, I hear like reverberations of, oh, Justin or Herbert, and like Mahomes, and like I know who these people are, or I've seen them play once or two, but I don't know enough about the card market on them, and I don't really want to go look up comps for this. I don't want to hold on to them. Like I've always said from minute one, like if my collection in terms of value went way down, went down 90%, I wouldn't care because I don't have any intention to sell them necessarily. And if it did do that, then I could still trade out of them for other cards, like so it wouldn't change anything for me in the kind of world that I live with.
Yeah, you're definitely a collector purist because that's awesome. And you do collect autographs. I'm sorry, one more question, and then Jeremy.
Yeah.
um, you collect autographs of celebrities too. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying. So that's like your outside, like non. So that's cool.
Yeah, so I've done that since I was a kid. I used to write letters to celebrities and do through the mail stuff when I was a kid. Then I started working in the entertainment industry, so I got to meet a bunch of folks, and then so I kind of continued to get the autographs whenever I could. I worked with the music industry for a bit, and anytime I could, I got something signed. A CD. Usually, I'd get it signed on the CD if I could, or on the on the cover. And so I've kept that up kind of on the side too, like just because I think it's again, autographs as a whole, I think is a fascinating kind of cool thing, and it's something that dates way back. I mean, into the 1920s, people were getting people's autographs. I mean, it's like, so it's not something that's new. And it's not something that, well, it may go away eventually because kids aren't learning cursive anymore, but it's gonna be like handwriting like on their names now.
Young basketball players, they just do initials now.
And it's like, what? I'm gonna make sure my kids know how to sign, their names. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I love it.
When I was a young adolescent, we had this program at school where we had to write a letter to a celebrity, and I requested an autograph, not thinking anything of it at the beginning of the school year. Come the end of the school year, I got a picture of a scantily clad Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Oh,
Saved by the Bell.
And I was like, "Whoa, well, you go, kid!"
It's a real deal.
Runner too. I didn't even know it.
There are some amazing. There's some amazing ones. We could do a whole episode someday on that. But like, I've gotten some autographs back that were just really heartfelt, just interesting pieces. Like there's one that I'm staring at here. The letter was what made it. The autograph is cool. It's Muhammad Ali. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But in my letters that I wrote, I really stressed the fact that I didn't want a preprint. I didn't want a secretarial. Like, I care about this person I'm writing to, that don't send me anything if they're not signing. But if they would be willing to sign an autograph for me, I would really appreciate it. I just want a real one, And so a lot of them I just never got back. But this particular one was so special because like I had magic as a hobby when I was a kid, like as a magician, and I wrote and I detailed that in this letter that I wrote to Muhammad Ali, as a, like, performing is different than doing what he did, but it is the same realm. You're in the public eye, you've got an audience, and his, the person in his office, I can read it right off the wall here, said, "Thank you for your recent letter to Muhammad Ali. He always appreciates hearing from his fans." Then this is the part that's amazing. "Muhammad is an avid magician himself, often performing small tricks for people where he travels. He doesn't belong to any magician societies, however, because he always reveals how the trick is done right after performing it." Like, what? And then it goes on to say he signed this card for you and wants me to wish you well. Blah blah blah. Like,
Muhammad Ali was the original masked magician, revealing all.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So this is back in 1998 that I got this letter, and it was just so cool, because it was so personal in that. So the letter is actually like as important to me as the card that he signed. The card's cool, but like the letter just like speaks to me like, wow, you actually read my letter, you shared it with him, and then you shared something personal about him that I never would have known. That connects him to me in a way too, like that we share, a hobby, and so there were a couple of situations like that where some of the autographs I got back, or I got, little notes or letters back as well, were just so thoughtful that that I was like, wow, these people, they're doing what I would hope that I would do if I were ever famous, and like in responding to fans. And wow, it's just really cool.
That is amazing. Fun fact: Jeremy is deeply into magic. He loves.
Oh wow!
Our reels on like Instagram are all sports cards and magic tricks. So
telling you, we'll talk more.
I never knew this about myself, and I'm like, oh man, I think I'm a nerd.
Yes. No, and it's good. We all are.
Didn't give it away. It was the magic.
We all are.
I was asking you about the cards earlier, and then you said something about, staying in your lane and sticking with the basketball cards.
Yeah.
And I'm very much a system and process sort of person, and we try to be principled in what we do. And so you had talked about keeping your money, your hobby money, separate than personal finance, which we've been preaching for quite some time now, because we've watched people get in trouble. I want to know, what was the last card or athlete that was outside of basketball that you were tempted to go after but decided like, hey, I'm going to stick and I'm going to be the basketball card guy.
I mean, there are a couple here and there that I pick, like Derek Jeter's one that I pick up. Having met him and getting to spend some time with him last year, I did some video work for his arena club company, and so I got to go to the release of the announcement of that company at Yankee Stadium, and he spent about 5 hours. He was just chilling out, and so he was so overly nice. And and I posted a video about a baseball that he signed for me that he had given me years earlier at a game because I caught one that he tossed out. And yeah, it's just crazy. I have that over there actually. I can show it to you. Yeah, so this is the collectible.
He's just like, yeah, room 5.
John, if you show off a Derek Jeter autographed gift basket, I'm out of here, man.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
He gave me a gift basket. Yes. No. So there's a whole story. I've gotten 3 gift baskets from him actually at the bar. No, just kidding. Super great dude. So the story behind this is interesting. I've told it on my Instagram, but I'll tell it quick here. In 2014, was his final year that he retired. His final year on the Yankees, and he retired in baseball. I went to a game on July 22nd, 2014. A friend of mine, close friend of mine, had incredible seats at Yankee Stadium. I mean, on the Yankee dugout, front row, unreal. So I'm at that game. Derek Jeter's doing the big toss where he just continually throws it. He keeps moving back and he's tossing with another player the ball further and further until the guy's in like the middle of outfield, and he's like, they're still throwing it back and forth, playing catch before the game. At the end of that, he tosses me the ball because I'm right there. And so I held on to that ball. It was amazing. Flash forward a year and a half. I'm on Steiner Sports on Black Friday, and I see that they have autographed bases signed by Derek Jeter, game used, autographed bases, random, just a random base. They probably had 100 of them. Who knows how many he signed? It was a great price. I purchased it. A couple weeks later, thing arrives in the mail. Open it up. Have all this documentation that comes with it, as you would expect, the certificate of authenticity. But it details that this base was used July 22nd, 2014.
No.
Not only that, it's the first base, which is the base that was sitting in front of us at the first base line, used in that game. It was the last game I ever saw him play in, which is crazy.
I have goosebumps right now.
It was also, crazy enough too. My friend has since passed away that I went to these games with. So it has a lot of meaning there too. The fact that this is the last time I went to a game with him actually as well. And I actually got to tell him that before he passed, like in his final days. I was like, I don't know how this happened, but like the world brought this to me. And so, flash forward to a few months ago when Arena Club was launching, I had already framed up the ball, on the bottom here that I had caught from the game. But I brought it with me. The management at the company were telling me he's not signing anything. I'd asked ahead of time, and I'm like, not a problem. I won't ask. But I'm going to put the ball in my backpack anyway, just in case, So, so I'm there. And my contact, he was doing an interview with Forbes or something. It was like the only closed door thing that we were there. And at the end of it, my contact came out and he had a couple of hats, Arena Club hats that Derek had signed. And so he mentioned, he's like, hey, if anyone wants a hat, he signed a few of them. And I look at him and he goes, did you bring the ball? And I'm like, I did. And he's like, all right, let me introduce you to his manager, his agent, and I have a feeling, he'll be open to it. So he tells her, like, look, Jonathan caught this at a game, and like he got it directly from Jeter years ago. He's held on to it. He has it in his. She's like, he would love to sign it. Of course, he would sign it. So I told him the whole story. We chatted with Jeter for a while. I was telling him the whole story about how like this came from that, and then I had this base at home too that was from the same game, and that he signed, and like just like the world kind of brought it all together. But it was amazing. Like you just never know. Like certain things are meant to be. So I started that was a long detour, but so I started picking up a few of Jeter's cards as well, even though he's out of my sport. But like he's such a great guy that I was like, you know what, going to pick up a couple of cards that have meaning there. I have like a Mike Tyson, autograph card. I have stuff that's a little bit like any of the GOATs. Like I have a Tom Brady autograph jersey card. Like I'll pick up things that where if I remember seeing them play or I feel like they've really made a splash, I'll go after it. But Wayne Gretzky, I have an autographed SPX card of him. Griffey, I've got the autographed SPX card of him because that was one that I remembered everyone going after in the 90s. So I do have a sprinkling of those other things, but I don't have like a collection like I do.
Jeremy's super jealous of your Griffey.
Yeah, so I just checked your link tree, and there's a million links everywhere. Where are the tickets to walk through your museum? I mean, house.
No, not yet. They will be soon. We'll put them up soon.
Before we started recording, I'm like, if you keep talking and showing us stuff, I'm just going to show up at your door like, please help me, I'm poor. I would like to see your stuff.
I'd just like to see this. Yeah.
Just let me look. I'll wear gloves and I won't touch anything.
One of my friends actually asked, he's like, are you going to put, so I have a whole collection of the Supreme Hardcourt cards that are game used floor that's printed on and then the athletes sign them. So I have like 30 of them lined up over there, like all autographs, Steph Curry and
of course
Clyde Drexler and Dr. J and all this. And my friend comes over and he goes, you're going to put these behind plexiglass, right? And I'm like, no, I think they look cool on a stand sitting on and he's like, you got to put them behind glass. It's like, I don't know. I kind of like just having them sit there, so.
If you're inviting people into your house, you have to worry that someone's going to steal it. Maybe those aren't the people that should be in your house either.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And they could go behind the plexiglass anyway, like, I don't know. I think he was like, whoa, you want to keep the dust off. And I'm like, well, I totally get that. But I mean, there's honestly not a lot of dust in this room, so I think we're good.
They're meticulously dusting everything for you. He's like, no, this is taking care of this. I don't appreciate this for you.
Exactly.
So I have a question. What was the most awkward? Because you're like, when you get the autographs, are you just always going to places where they're like doing a signing, or is there like ever a time where you like awkwardly ask someone to do an autograph that you were like, I'm just gonna go for it? I have to know.
Yeah, I mean, the most awkward autograph I think I ever got was Boyd Tinsley from Dave Matthews Band, because I was not in the music industry at the time. I was actually working for New Line Cinema, the movie company, and we were doing a movie premiere in the Tribeca Grand Hotel in Lower Manhattan, and Dave was playing Giant Stadium for a couple of days. No idea. And I run into Boyd in the lobby, and I'm like, what? So I had a pad of paper that I was like walking around with taking notes. And I was like, this is awkward because I've never actually gone up to someone like this in public before that I didn't know was going to be there, and like B, so I think that was probably the most awkward out of all of them. I usually, if I'm getting an autograph, I either have someone, it's either at an event. That's been most of the most recent ones. But before that, I usually have someone introduce me to them. So I know somebody that, either is affiliated with them or can make the intro. So then it's not weird.
Yeah.
Or as weird. Maybe it's weird for them still. I don't know. But like it feels better.
But I feel like I wouldn't think it was weird. I think it was awesome.
One of the greatest things I've ever seen happen, and he said it's okay that I tell this story because I just freaking love this. At the National this year, I was doing autograph counting for Mitch Richmond. So when they're signing autographs backstage, they sign autographs up front where there's the public signing, but then the athletes end up spending hours behind the curtains signing all these other items, and that's where they make the bulk of their money is just volume. And so they'll work with TriStar or one of these folks, and they'll sign 1,000 items. I think Mitch signed like 1,200. I had a count. And so you sit there with a sheet as a counter and you just mark off every time they sign something or they do an inscription, and then they total out based on where you are on the sheet, how much they owe them for the autographs and stuff. So I was there and just doing all this and got to meet a bunch of people throughout the day. Allen Iverson came back there with some folks, and he was idolized Mitch. So it was awesome to see the interaction between both of them. But the best part of this was my friend who got me this role. It was a free job, but I could get autographs while I was back there. He wanted to get an autograph from Mariano Rivera. Mariano's guy like his agent would absolutely not allow it. You have to pay for it. Like there's certain guys, same with Barry Sanders. You can't just go up to him and say, while he's back there and just get one, like not going to happen. So so he goes to Mitch Richmond, who he knows pretty well, and he's like, Mitch, I have this card of Mariano. Can you get him to sign it for me? And he literally goes, he's like, sure. He literally taps Mariano on the shoulder while he's doing a public signing. And he's like, hey, Mariano, what's up? Oh, he's like, hey, good, how are you? He's like, hey, can you sign this for me? He's like, oh, yeah, of course, sure. Now, the agent's not stopping Mitch Richmond from getting an autograph from Mariano Rivera. And then he hands it back to my friend. And I'm like, dude, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That's an awesome story. Oh my gosh. I was at Culture Collision and Dale Murphy was there, and like he was sitting by me, and I was like, oh, and I just, because he was a Brave and we're in Atlanta, I'm like, oh, did they bring him to the show to sign things? That's what I was assuming. And I'm like, oh, so I just asked him, like, oh, are you signing stuff here? And he's like, no, I can't sign. And I was like, oh, he's like, but you could take a picture with me. I was like, okay, so I should have.
I'll do that. Yeah,
he was super nice about it, but I think sometimes they're like not allowed to. So that was.
Some of them have exclusive contracts and stuff. I don't know how they're stipulated. I don't understand how you could restrict someone from signing an autograph for a fan
of their own.
Like I could understand how they couldn't sell it. You could, but that always, I don't know. It's interesting.
Probably we're at the show, and I just like I'm sure if he wasn't there to actually do signings, and like he signed one thing, and then people see that he's signing, then he's just gonna get inundated with people asking him. But I was just asking because I didn't have anything for him to sign. I was just standing there when he walked up. I was like, oh, like, are you signing at the show? Like, are you like one of the, how they bring in people to sign at shows all the time? But no, he was just there to like enjoy the show, which I thought was super cool too.
That is awesome. No, totally.
I hear people say, do the hobby the right way. And sometimes I don't know what the hell that means. One thing that's clear to me is anytime that I'm feeling down or frustrated or there's just something negative that's weighing on me, I see your page and I see how joyous and happy you are and how generous you are with your time to anybody that's reached out, how incredibly kind you've been to us. And just knowing that we can have a conversation, some incredible stories that the Muhammad Ali story is insane. Like the card be damned, that story, the fact that somebody took the time to do that is incredible. But if there is doing hobby the right way, you are the poster child for it, man. I can't.
Thank you.
It shows because, our friends, Cousin Collectibles, you chatted with them and all of a sudden I looked at their YouTube and with you on it, all of a sudden they were like through the roof, trending. They're the most popular thing in the hobby right now. And it's a testament to you. There's just positive vibes and energy come through anytime we chat. And I'm just truly grateful and humbled to have met you and to be able to just talk things hobby. We're not talking about values of cards. We're talking about things that we like, cool stories, and just these little pieces of cardboard that brought us together.
I still remember our first interaction, and you might not remember it, but I remember that we had picked up this card. It was a Jordan. Remember those, like, it was like in a black.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen it, and we couldn't find any information about it. I know what it was. And I posted a picture of it on my Instagram, and this was years ago now. And somebody tagged you, and they're like, he'll know. And we'd never spoken before. Not only did you respond in that thing, but you sent me a DM, you explained it, you showed me where I could find information about that card, and you like delineated all of the sales of it. And it was like really hard to find. And you took that time for someone you never met. You had no idea who I was just because someone tagged you in my post. And I was genuinely trying to get help on this card. So from that moment forward, I was like, this guy is awesome.
He sent all that stuff. And I'm like, no, we're getting an invoice, aren't we? This is too much. This is the origin story. How was manufactured.
No, totally. But I think that's and I say this a lot to folks, but it's like, that's the difference between like a hobby and a job, or a hobby and anything else. Like in a hobby, you do something you enjoy, you surround yourself with people that are like-minded, and you're not there to gossip about stuff or be negative or like, think about any other hobby you could have. If it was bird watching or something, do you think people are like freaking out and creating drama. No, like you sit there and you enjoy what you're doing, and you find other like-minded individuals that you can all go out and do the same thing. And I think I think we get anytime, it's not just cards, but anytime you get a mass inflow of new people into something, which is what happened the last couple of years, you're going to get people that really shouldn't be there in the first place, and so that can muddy the waters a bit. We all know that negative news, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Like, so negative news always comes to the top and is always the most talked about things. And so people start to get that kind of stormy mindset when they look at Instagram or Facebook or any of the things when they're looking at the hobby. And so I think if you stay with your own mindset, if you surround yourself with good people, you feel very different about it. When people are saying, "Oh, the hobby is dying," and to me, and they're like, "Don't you think so?" And I'm like, "No, not in any of the circles I'm in." Like, I don't, like, we're all still, I'm paying more for cards that I'm buying now than I was a year ago. Like, the stuff that I'm looking at, because the people that are collecting that are all in that kind of like-minded zone of like, no, we're not freaking out over anything.
No, and here's the thing. Some of the interactions with you were sort of what directed us and how we were going to interact. When people who are like, we've been collecting for a long time, but we only got onto social media for collecting a few years ago. And it wasn't anything that even came to my mind that like, oh, I have all these cards, they're cool, I should put them on Instagram. And then when I did, it was like it opened our world up to like not just people we knew around us, but like all over the country and now the world. And our interactions with people like you who we never would have met if it wasn't for social media has like sort of directed us in how we want to behave within the space. Like people will message us. Like we have a guy after we get off of here that we're gonna help. He's messaging about baseball cards, and I'm like, this is not my thing. I'll have Jeremy help you later tonight. But like if people message us and ask us for help, we do our very best to help. And if I can't help, I will direct you to a person I know who can help you, because it makes the whole experience for everybody more enjoyable and more positive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people appreciate it. Like, there are very few people that I've experienced that have been unappreciative of me going out of the way. Like the example that you gave, like, I've done that for quite a few people where like, I just feel like they should know, like if they're reaching out, then they really have a question about something. Do they own it yet or not? That's sometimes the question too. Like this could be a big purchase decision and someone's relying on the information I'm giving them to decide, like, is this worth my $300? And they're brand new to the hobby, like, so I take it really seriously when someone reaches out and is trusting me to help guide them in a situation like that. So I think that, yeah, I mean, it's super important. And I'm glad I can inspire, like, I think that's, we need more of that in every aspect of life. And I think, I'm very much the same way, within my day job kind of business stuff, within my interactions with folks I meet and my friends, and it's just, it's part of the way I operate in general. But I think when people aren't able to operate in that way, they probably are not enjoying, the industry. And I call it the industry then, not the hobby, because it's, for them, they're probably relying on the money. Something's going wrong, stressing out about it, and it's not a hobby anymore. I mean, it's, so yeah, I think if, again, if you're collecting what you love, you stay in your lane, like the stuff, you don't, it's the same reason I didn't go and buy crypto or, any of NFTs or any of those kinds of things. Like I didn't go because I didn't know about it. It's not something I'm passionate about, like, I'm passionate about cards. I have been since I was a kid. So, and that remains, that's kind of ingrained. So I think I probably will always be. So it's kind of valuable there.
So I got two final things before we get out of here.
Yeah.
One, the magician in you, were you pissed off that Muhammad Ali was sharing the secrets of the trade?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
And two, you said 3 shows a year. I assume we'll see you
3
at
shows a month.
3 month, yeah, a month. I'm sorry. I assume we'll see you at National. Any other big shows you plan on traveling to?
I may go to Mint. I'm not sure yet. That was a lot of fun last year. I thought that was a great show. It was, kind of I still feel like, I know they're not marketing it as an industry specific show, but I feel like it was the most industry driven show that I had been to up to that point. National got more industry driven this past year, but I think it's just great. There's accessibility. They had great panels there. There's just, and it's Vegas, and so that's just fun. In general, I don't think Vegas is a great place to have a card show, because everyone has to fly in virtually. I mean, there's very few card dealers that are close enough to drive, and if you're flying in, you can't bring dollar boxes and $5 boxes, and you just can't. And that's one of the things I love about going to shows, is just pouring through boxes, finding the hidden gems, finding cards that aren't worth a lot of money at all, like 25-cent cards, 50-cent cards that I just remember from my childhood and don't think I have anymore. So I buy it, like I love that.
You have like 75 of them in your box that you forgot about.
And then I find out when I get home, I have 75 of them, but
I could have bought it on my website for half the price.
Exactly. I could have bought this for myself. Damn it. Yeah.
Darn.
I know. Darn. Well, that's okay. I don't mind having a 54th one. Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. I will link your website and everything in the show notes so people could go check out your awesome collection if they aren't already following you and checking it out, which, again, I don't know why anyone would be following us and not you.
Hit Reckless in the promo code for 20% off for your museum ticket tour.
Museum ticket time. I'll let you know when we release those. They're going to be very limited, but we'll.
Courtney's going to be camped out in front of your house days in advance.
Like Black Friday sale. I'm just waiting for my ticket.
Yep, exactly.
Listen, I spent like 22 hours at the National waiting in line. I am built for this. I can do it. So.
I know you were there trying to get every single one of the Stranger Things, right?
Yeah, I got them all.
Oh my God. See, I wish I had those now. I had not seen Stranger Things before the National. I never watched an episode. Now I've watched the whole series and I'm like, oh man, I should have gotten some of those cards.
I know. And they're like, the whole sets are like outrageously expensive now. So.
Oh my God. The greatest, I picked this up. I haven't opened it because it's the whole complete set in the wrapper, but it's the Anchorman cards.
Oh, Ron Burgundy.
And so Jeremy Lee gave a tip on this, that this came inside a Blu-ray pack. If you bought the Blu-ray, you got a pack of cards inside, and it has the whole set inside it. The Blu-ray was on sale on Amazon for like $12. So I'm like, I will take a whole set of cards for $12 and have a bonus Blu-ray. So
there you go.
Iconic movie. I thought that was great. You never know. Like, so little things like that I grab in addition to basketball.
Well, thank you, John, for your time. We appreciate you. And
for
everyone who's listening. So if you like this, please subscribe, follow us, like it, keep the algorithm going. So thank you. Bye.